18 record as a starter. Meanwhile, in Philadelphia, with Carson Wentz being traded out of Philly and the Eagles trading down in the draft, the team seems ready to hand over the reins to Jalen Hurts, who went 1-3 last year as a starter, but showed some good flashes. And then with Ryan Fitzpatrick out of Miami, Tua Tagovailoa gets a ringing endorsement from the Dolphins that he will be the full-time starter next year. Here's our Dominique Foxworth yesterday on this program on what Tua faces this season.
The pressure is going to go up on him because they have a great tight end in Gesicki. They're going to add another weapon. They're going to bolster that offensive line. This is going to be a pretty loaded roster, so he better ball out this year because there's going to be no more excuses, and they'll still have the capital to move up in the draft the following season. So I think this is a make or break year for Tua, but the good news is he has all the tools to get it done.
Make or break year for Tua Tagovailoa is a fascinating way to look at someone who has played this little. Dan Graziano, why are you making that face? You look skeptical of that idea.
Very un-Dominique take. I mean, to come out and put this much pressure on a player. Usually Dominique is on the player's side here. I mean, I don't see it as make or break. I think it could make him, but I definitely don't think it can break Tua Tagovailoa in Miami if he doesn't have a great year this year.
It's an interesting way of looking at it because while I understand it feels a tad premature, Marcus, I kind of agree with what Dominique said, which is this is a team that I think is thinking championship thoughts right now. And if the quarterback isn't ready to get it done, you know, in the NFL today, we move on pretty quick. Swagger, what do you think?
I think you and Foxy out of y'all damn mind. That's what I think. The dude that plays 6 games, 7
My
games,
guy.
and split time with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like the dude literally has not had a chance to even show you if he can be a top tier quarterback. He showed flashes. He had trouble like most rookies have in the NFL. This is not a make or break year for Tua. If he was coming out in this draft, he'd be the second quarterback off the board based on how we looked at him coming out of college. So okay, I'm with it. I get it. Everybody want to get rid of the quarterbacks. I understand it. I'm a quarterback. I'm a get rid of a quarterback when I don't think he's good either. But this dude has literally not played half of an NFL season, and he's going into this one and we saying this a make or break. That's a little bit too fast.
I get it. It is sort of the way football is in 2021. It is too fast, but that doesn't mean we don't do it that way. So, Pollack, let me come to you. It was a bunch of young quarterbacks we just talked about. We talked about Daniel Jones and Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa. In your mind, which young quarterback is under the most pressure to succeed this season?
Daniel Jones. I mean, that makes it's easy for me because I'm watching him and his contract, first of all, is coming up, right? First, he came in with the most pressure. Everybody was like, what? They took who? Who did they take that high? Daniel Jones. Why? Who is this guy? And then, you know, obviously you've seen the injuries, you've seen underperforming, not playing great, you've seen him tripping on his own feet, you know, running down the field 60-plus yards. But what do they do around him? Saquon gets healthy. They spend all this money now. They bring in wide receivers. In a horrible division, there's no excuses. And guess what? Now I got to decide whether I want to pick up his fifth-year option. I got to decide whether I'm going to pay him a lot of money. When you got that price tag and all that money, Tua's in year 2. Daniel Jones doesn't have that luxury. He's got real money coming his way if he can perform at a high level. So I think it's Daniel Jones.
Daniel Graziano, who you got?
I think the young quarterback under the most pressure is Lamar Jackson. Now, look, I think he'll get his contract extension, so we're not talking about the same kind of pressure of Daniel Jones trying to establish his career. But the expectations for Lamar Jackson are way beyond what they are for Daniel Jones, Tua Tagovailoa at this point. Those guys aren't being expected to beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in the playoffs and get to and win the Super Bowl. That is what's expected of Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens already in his career. So I think he's dealing with a different level of pressure than some of these other guys are.
That's fair. It is a different kind of pressure, but I understand the point you're making. Marcus, how about you?
I saw this like DP, but I went Jalen Hurts, man. And guys, think about it. Like, I know that he's only going into his 5th game, but this was not the plan for the Philadelphia Eagles. It was not the plan to have Jalen Hurts be their starter. It was not the plan for him to lead. So Jalen Hurts is literally playing for a tag of who he is in the NFL this year. Can he go above? Is he a guy that you can take put pieces around him and make not only him better, but your team better. He's under a lot of pressure. A lot of people are saying, look, this is a stopgap until Philly finds the guy. Jalen Hurts is under a lot of pressure to prove to people that he can be a starter in this league, let alone lead the Philadelphia Eagles.
They're all good picks, but I would agree with the Daniel Jones one, and I'll say it this simply. If I'm the person making the decisions with the Giants, I would say we drafted an offensive tackle high, we drafted a running back high, and we just paid for the most expensive wide receiver in free agency. At this point, if it doesn't work, there's really only one direction to point the finger. We'll see if that's the way it winds up going. Okay, let's go on the clock here as we have a bunch of different takes that we need to get in here, and we got 30 seconds each to do them. Pollock, I'm starting with you. You have an interesting player comp for Trey Lance, the quarterback out of North Dakota State. 30 seconds, let's hear it.
I think it's Ryan Tannehill. You look at Ryan Tannehill, didn't have a full year as a starter at quarterback in college, played a lot of wide receiver. 6'4", 210 pounds. Trey Lance is 6'4", 227. Both very green, gonna take the right system to go in. Both have a ton of physical ability to run the football, throw the football, but are going to need time to develop. To me, he fits perfect with the Ryan Tannehill comparison.
Okay, it's an interesting one there from Trey Lance, who figures to go somewhere between 3 and somewhere in the top 10 in this draft, I think is reasonable. Marcus, I'm coming to you next. I want you to see these quotes from Bruce Arians, the head coach of the Super Bowl winning champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who said on the Loose Cannons podcast, when our guys come back, and that's my job, I'm going to beat the blank out of them. We're going to go back to basics, or we're going to have one hell of a training camp and know what our foundation is. So that's what the coach said. In 30 seconds, what does Swagoo say? Marcus, go.
Well, that's the type of thing you say on the Loose Cannons podcast, number one. And second of all, we know Bruce Arians is a boo-boo talker. It's another word you put in front of that everybody relate to. But this is him just trying to send a message and telling these guys not to get complacent, right? Like winning the national championship at LSU, it's harder the next year. Everybody's trying to knock your head off. David Pollock knows this because we went to Georgia between them hedges and they knocked us silly because of the previous year. So it's going to be tougher on the Bucs. Bruce Arians just passing the message. He's a loose cannon.
Look at those pictures of a young championship Swagoo.
I mean, right?
Like it a lot. We need some stories of how Nick Saban handled you guys the next season after winning that. We will get to those. Meanwhile, Graziano, we got the 17-game schedule conversation here. What is the latest on the schedule being expanded? 30 seconds, go.
The NFL owners are having their virtual owners meetings today and tomorrow. Zoom calls from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern both days. Today, it is anticipated, will be the day that they vote on the 17-game season. It would start this year. 2021 would be a 17-game regular season. Greeny, I don't want to overstate this, but the explosion of the sun is more likely than the owners not voting today to approve a 17-game NFL regular season starting this year. It's happening. It is here. People need to make their plans accordingly.
So if it doesn't suddenly get very dark in the middle of the day today by a complete shock, you can count on 17 games. I do want to get you guys' thoughts on that as the morning continues, and we will. We'll hear from the fellas on that. But meantime, let me run the floor here through some of the good NBA action last night. We got Zion Williamson scoring 28 points. Boy, has he been good. The Pelicans held on after blowing most of a 17-point fourth quarter lead to beat Boston last night, 115-109. Elsewhere, we had James Harden and Kyrie Irving leading Brooklyn over the Timberwolves on Monday night. Harden had 38, tied the Nets' single-season record with his 12th triple-double, has done it in just 32 games. Kyrie also added 27 in his return. Elsewhere, Kawhi and the Clippers held off Giannis and the Bucks, 129-105. Giannis had 32, but it wasn't nearly enough. Kawhi, 23 points, 9 rebounds in the win. And tomorrow night, we have our Wednesday doubleheader on ESPN and the ESPN app, and you'll see Luka and the Mavericks playing the third of a 5-game road trip against Jason Tatum.